This is an introduction to research methodology. We're going to discuss what is research, how do I start it, what am I trying to accomplish, and how do we format the research and information resources that you've found to effectively complete a research paper. Research may be defined as a systematic approach, method describing a problem, formulating hypothesis, and collecting the facts and data, analyzing them, and coming to a conclusion about that, and making a general statement about what it is you've learned and what that means as far as your project. Research methodology requires gathering data, analyzing, comparing that data, and verifying and supporting or reporting on your conclusions, whether the information that you've gathered either adds to your hypothesis or goes against it. In gathering data, you want to start by utilizing all the resources you have available to you. The web, including a variety of search engines, the library databases, books, newspapers, and more. You want to fill in the blanks and discover the terms and issues and related information about what it is that you're researching. Make sure you note down all of the information that you've gathered so that you can reference it or utilize it again in the next step. In analyzing and comparing data, we want to be asking some simple questions about our information resources to figure out if they're valid. We want to ask who the author or person is who's responsible for the information. What is this information source? Is it an article, web page, etc.? When was this source created or last updated? How do I know when this information was actually put together? And where can I point someone back to exactly so they can read, review, and evaluate the sources themselves? It isn't good enough to give a partial URL or an incomplete reference to a resource. You want to be able to give your reader the exact location so that they can go back and verify your information. In this next section, I want to talk about what you need to be responsible for in gathering resources to put into your academic research paper. The sources you reference in your project or paper, you need to be able to answer at least 3 of the previous 4 questions about it: who, what, when, and where. Even if a source has given you good information, but you don't know who's responsible for it, when it was recreated, where exactly you got it from, or what exactly it is, don't rely on it. Verify your information. Use resources you do know the information about. It's the difference of taking something at face value or working towards a professional inspection of your work. And lastly, be responsible for what you report. It could mean more in the real world. Giving bad information reflects poorly on you, grade-wise, but more importantly, professionally. People won't trust your opinion or your work. The overview, or a selection of different general resources you could use, are as follows. The web, utilizing a search engine like Google or Yahoo or Bing to navigate around the internet, and then utilize the information that you find there, making sure that you know where it came from, its URL or source, and remember the questions: who, what, when, and where. You can also use archival or library databases. Databases are a specific collection of digital resources, generally collected around a theme or an intended audience. Databases provide copies of printed or published articles, selections of books, transcripts, or manuscripts, and they give you the information about the information that is contained in the database. You can always search by index of subjects and other keywords and terms that you'll find in that database. Additional physical resources include books, journals, newspapers, and magazines. Each of these items will provide information about the information within them too. You just have to know where to look. Physical resources are limited in that you need to have them in front of you physically to access them, or have a copy or facsimile of them. Interviews, TV, and radio broadcasts, you want to copy down as many notes about the broadcast or interview as possible, taking quotes where you can, but have identification of the resources important, as your interpretation of the events or the discussion might need to be verified. Verifying your conclusions about the information that you've found requires that you look at the sources you've had and see if what they are saying matches up with what you thought initially. Do your sources support or go against what you've claimed initially, your hypothesis? Can you learn from your sources why they support their conclusions? Is there enough information in the sources you have to understand what they are saying or why the source's findings support or go against your hypothesis? And report on what you've found. Tell your reader how the facts and reports in your sources support or go against your initial thoughts. When you're reporting your findings, take what you've learned and give your reader a review of it. Restate important concepts, use quotes from the resources, and clearly state the issues, ideas, and the complexity of the information to your satisfaction. Make comparisons and add to the main topic of your research paper until you feel you've given your reader enough information. Be sure to keep your reader aware of your initial statement or hypothesis and use the flow of the paper to report and analyze what you've researched. Finalize your paper by summarizing the key points you've already discussed and make a statement about how you feel the data either supports or went against your hypothesis. And finishing up your paper, make sure it's formatted in the proper style, APA or MLA. Select the appropriate identifiers for your paper, a title page, an abstract, reference sheet, etc. And be sure to reread your report to catch any errors, making sure that you've properly cited and given in-text credit for other people's work. Completing your project means you feel confident that you've met all the criteria laid out for your assignment.